Welcome to the No Guilt Fangirls Podcast, where liking what you like is never a bad thing. Here's your host and head fangirl in charge, Patty Holiday.
Hey y'all, welcome to the No Guilt Fangirls Podcast. I'm your host and head fangirl in charge, Patty Holiday. After a slight unintended break, thanks to a raging sinus infection and illness, trust me, you guys did not want me talking to you when I sounded the way I did for a couple of weeks. We are back. And this is going to be the Monday Movie Minute. And if you're new here in 2020, welcome. Usually every Monday, I talk about the movies that I saw the week before. A lot of the times it's new releases. Sometimes it's things that I've rewatched sitting on my couch, or maybe a Netflix show, something like that. So really, it's just as long as it's movie related, it is fair game for the Monday Movie Minute. Now, today, we're not going to talk about, not necessarily, maybe, I don't know. I don't know exactly which movies we're going to talk about, but they're not necessarily going to be the most recent ones. This is going to be kind of a flashback to 2019 movies. We're going to talk about the couple that we thought were most overrated or underrated by critics, by fans, just in general, what, we think kind of got a raw deal or maybe got blown out of proportion. And then we're also going to talk about the 2020 movies that are coming out. There's a pretty interesting slate that I've seen so far announced, and there's a few that I personally am very fangirly over and very excited to see and can't wait for. So we're going to talk about that too. And by me saying we, that should clue you in that for this Monday Movie Minute, I have a guest. This is Duckie Rowell, and she is back with me. She's been on a few times. So, hey, Duckie.
Hey, girl. What's up?
Hey, it's 2020, man. Just living life.
Yeah, 2020 is here, and my goal personally is to glow. I don't know what your goal is, but hope it's a good one.
I like it. That's a good, is that like your word of the year?
It is. Glowing is definitely my word of the year because I feel like, we're all aspiring to be better, and what not a better word than glowing to become better.
I feel like that's a very Dan Levy type thought process, and I love it.
I wasn't intending that, but totally.
Because you know how much I adore him. And so I'm like, I like this. Dan would like this, because Dan and I are like BFFs, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I wish I was BFFs with him, so.
I like it. I still haven't quite picked mine for this year. And the funny thing is, I was like, I know I had one for 2019, but I couldn't remember what it was. I found it on Instagram. And my 2019 word was listen. And the idea was literally to listen to what people have to say, because I think so many times I would just assume that I knew what you were going to say, or I knew where you were going with this, or you know what I mean? I wasn't really listening to what people were trying to say. And I hated it when people did that to me. So 2019 was about listening. And ironically, that's also when I got into podcasting, like into listening to podcasts. So I thought that was kind of funny that manifested in that unintended way, but it did. So who knows? Maybe 2020 needs to be talk.
Ooh, I like that.
I don't know. I'm still fleshing this out, trying to decide what the focus is going to be this year. I haven't gotten my goals and dreams together because I was sick for the last part of 2019. So I'm still kind of half dragging my way through wrapping up those things. And, we'll get to 2020.
Hopefully 2020 is all about you feeling better and feeling your best. And maybe the word is like, what's the one I want to say? Like maybe the word is like reciprocating feelings or something like that.
I guess I like that. I really do like that. I'll have to put some thought into that, see what I can come up with. Yeah. But yeah, exactly. And you know what? Health, happiness, all that good stuff. I definitely will always take health. Because when that's one of the fun facts about me, as I am the worst patient. Like people talk about man flu and how when their husbands get sick, they're miserable and whatever. I'm like, no, that's me. I am the biggest baby you've ever met in your entire life. So when mama don't feel good, nobody feels good in this house. And I know that everybody was so happy when I finally got over myself.
Well, I'm happy too that you are feeling better, because I totally know it's not fun during the holidays to feel like a Grinch. So.
Oh, it is not. It is not. Okay, so Duckie, real quick, tell people about yourself, where they can find you online, if they want to follow you on socials. And by the way, she has a great Instagram account. I love it. So throw all those out there so people can come find you should they want to follow you.
So if you want to follow me, I am at Magic a la Mode, like a magical parfait, on Twitter, Instagram, all those awesome things. And I also have a website with the same name. And currently a big thing right now is I'm writing for comicbookresources.com. So you can also see my writing on there.
Oh, is this new?
Yeah, it started like maybe in like November, but it's really, it's been good. I'm writing a really interesting list. So when it's out, I'll let you know.
Oh, for sure. For sure. That's awesome. Yeah. Let me know.
Yeah.
All right. So we are going to talk about 2019 and basically what we thought about the movies this year. And I know like every entertainment podcast out there has probably had this list and had that discussion, but we're going to narrow it down. We're going to kind of make this short and sweet. We decided to pick one each of the most overrated and the most underrated movies that we saw in 2019. Now, I didn't see everything that was out there because I also will confess this about myself. If there's a movie that I'm kind of not interested in, I take my job seriously enough, but not that seriously.
Fair, totally fair.
So I don't, time is precious, right? And so if there's just something that I really am dragging my feet over going to see, then I just decide to skip it. And I'll give you an example of that. It might be a beautiful film. It might be lovely. I might love it, whatever, but it's Little Women. I'm not into it.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Okay? Which, as you know, somebody who, I do like historical pieces and I do like those things, but part of it is I never really loved the book as a kid or as an adult.
Okay.
And I've seen every version of this movie. I think there's like 2 or 3 out already. And then this one, and I know this is done differently. And that's what everyone has said is, it's different. But,
yes, it's very different.
Yeah. But that's one of those things that I just can't seem to pull the trigger and go and sit and watch this movie. I might get there, but I haven't yet. So that's an example. So I counted it up and I think there was 112 movies that I saw this year. So again, not everything.
Girl, congratulations.
Thank you. But I broke that Century Club. I saw a lot of movies in the theater this year. Yes. A-list, by the way, AMC A-list, y'all get on that.
It is the best. Oh my God.
So helpful. So helpful. So it made it so much easier for me to completely fall into these passions that I have and just be able to go see all these movies that I maybe wouldn't have spent the money on before, right? But
yeah.
Anywho, so that was worth it. So that's where I am. And do you have any idea about how many movies you saw this year?
I would definitely say it's around that ballpark. I try to make a point to see every current recent release of that weekend because I also take my aspiring job very seriously and want to be up on the know and be the best film pundit humanly possible. But yeah, I would say it's in the at least 70 to 100 range.
Well, I did a little Facebook polling. I asked, friends and family, and I was like, hey, how many movies have you guys seen? And a lot of them were like, I don't know, 6, maybe 12. All the Disney movies, it was very interesting to see because I was like, wait a minute. You guys aren't all watching all these movies like I am. What's wrong with you? And then I realized, well, we're different, Duckie.
Yeah. I was like, oh, wait, you're not a crazy person like me?
Correct. So be super proud of that 70 because that's awesome. That means, like you said, we're dedicated to our craft. We're
Heck
going to
yes.
go into all of this.
Yes, we are cinephile goddesses.
All right, so hit me. Let's go ahead. I'm going to let you start. Hit me with, do you want underrated or overrated? Where do you want to start?
I'm going to dip my foot into the controversial pond and go with my overrated choice.
All right. Oh, and guys, we have not talked about this. I don't know what she's going to say. She might say Little Women. I don't know. But we haven't had any discussion on this. So it could be something I haven't seen. It could be something I love. It could, we don't know yet. So all right, go for it.
All right. So my most overrated movie of 2019 is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Uh-huh. I have mixed feelings on this, but you tell me why it's overrated for you.
So here's my thing. I will be completely honest that my opinion towards this movie is that I'm not a big Quentin Tarantino person. I went to film school, and a lot of the time I was around kids who in the early to late 2000s were like, oh my God, he's the greatest filmmaker ever. And the thing is that Quentin Tarantino is cool, but a lot of his filmmaking is tributes to things that already happened before. Mm-hmm. So in saying that, my biggest thing with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is I think it was beautifully shot. It has lots of really cool aspects to it. But the thing is that it is trying to evoke a very, very serious message. And I think constantly it gets lost in itself as to how to speak about that message and also how to portray the characters within that message. And I'm trying to say in a way that's not spoilery in case there's people that listen to us that haven't seen the movie.
Right. Yes. So here's my thing about Once Upon a Time. I also am not a Tarantino fan, like at all. Like, ugh. You know, I loved Pulp Fiction. Okay.
Yes.
But then after that, everything just, he lost me. And there's so many like troublesome issues with this dude. And he keeps making like terrible misogynistic movies.
And also lots of things about feet. Like, I'm not okay with the feet.
I don't get the feet. I don't need to see the feet. Guys, if you've ever seen any of his movies, you'll see lots of feet. Why? Gross. I don't know. But yeah, it's this thing. Yeah, it's totally this thing. However, so I went to this movie truly going, this was one that I said, I'm definitely going day one because people are going to talk about it and I want to be in the conversation. Was expecting to be unimpressed. I was expecting to be let down. I had the opposite reaction. And I think part of it was because I was expecting to be so let down. Do you know what I'm saying? Like my expectations were really low because I know me and I know what I like. And I didn't think I would like any of this. There's definitely issues with it that I didn't love. There's definitely, I can understand very, very much so the critiques that people have put out to it. So I am not over here saying, in fact, rumor says it's an Oscar frontrunner. No, that would not be my choice.
No, me either.
I'm definitely not there. So yeah, I'm with you kind of on the overrated camp if we're going to those levels of it's a masterpiece. No. Yeah, so that's definitely where I am on that one. However, there was something about it, and I think part of what maybe appealed to me is the nostalgia and the old 70s. Like, I love Hollywood, man.
Oh, yeah.
And you're right. It was beautifully shot, and it was beautifully costumed. And I don't know. I don't want to spoil it either, but I liked that ending. I know a lot of people hated it, but I liked that ending and the twist to it all. And so I'm down with it in general, but will I watch this thing probably ever again? I don't know that I will. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's more that just like my reaction to it is I don't honestly have any very specific solid opinion towards the ending because it didn't. I didn't get the guttural reaction that a lot of people did, and I took it as like this is a fantasy. But at the same time, I think it's a very bloated movie, and you could tell that by its 3-hour runtime. I think it easily could have been chopped a solid 20-40 minutes and you could have gotten the same message. But I do think the nostalgia and the love that Tarantino has for that era is beautiful, especially when you see the shots inside movie theaters and stuff. You're just it's oozing nostalgia. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it was. So yeah, I mean, definitely some positives too, but I'm not going to fight you over it being overrated. I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
So, yay. Okay. So we're in agreement there. For me, overrated, I actually was going to talk about one movie, but then as we started talking about Once Upon a Time, I thought, no, I got to mention this other movie. So I'm going to throw out two.
Okay.
And the first one you might hate me for, but I thought Booksmart was completely overrated.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Why is that?
Yeah, here was my thing with Booksmart. Leading up to opening day of Booksmart, every critic, every person, everybody that saw this movie was like, it's the best movie ever made. It's so fresh. It's so smart. It's so new. It's so, you've never seen anything like this. It's amazing, yada, yada, yada. And look, it's all female power empowerment. I am all for that. I'm not even complaining that it's not one of those things where I have any issue with the idea that they were even pushing it on people, because it was all, female written, female directed, female cast, like all of that. Positives. And I think they all did a great job. Like, I also have no real super negatives to it. I was entertained. However, what I wasn't was like over bold. I was expecting to be blown away, like to sit there and watch this movie and go, oh my gosh, this is the best movie ever, the way that people were talking about it. And I didn't have that reaction at all. And I'm fairly easy to please, especially when it's a genre like this. Because the lines were funny. It was, there was some clever humor to it. But all I kept thinking was it wasn't new. It wasn't fresh. It was not groundbreaking in my opinion. And it was like super bad 20 years later with girls. Which is also fine, but it just, I don't know. There were certain things, of course, that they addressed and that they added in this movie that we wouldn't have done in Superbad. And so I appreciated those kinds of aspects of it. So it's not that I hated this movie. It's just that I wanted to walk out of there feeling like, and I literally sat there going, what?
So it got overhyped for you, and I think that's a valid reaction.
It did. So that's my reaction to Booksmart.
Yeah.
Did you love it? What did you think about it?
Here's my thing about Booksmart. I really loved it because it's my catnip. I love teenage movies. Mm-hmm. I love fierce feminine characters, and specifically the fact that Beanie Feldstein was in it. She's a plus size actress that I think is gorgeous and amazing. And
she's brilliant. Yeah. They were so good. Like like I'm not bashing any of the actresses. They were all so good.
Oh yeah, they were amazing. Yeah. But I do agree though that I do think that, and also Good Boys are super bad, just done with a different demographic.
Yep, definitely. So that was my disappointment there. My other super massive, and that one I actually felt it, like I was more mad that I didn't love it. Mm-hmm. The other one for me was The Irishman.
Okay, so funny enough, I'm actually midway watching that right now. So I'm curious to hear what you think, because so far I just feel like it's another Martin Scorsese gangster movie, and there's nothing that interesting about it.
No, that's it. You can stop. You can stop the movie right now. No, you need to finish the movie, but the fact that you're halfway through it, like that tells me everything, because that's exactly what the problem with this movie is, right?
Yeah.
Is that it's so long, and talk about long and bloated, talk about just way too much. But it's a critical darling. Like everybody is tripping over themselves about how amazing this movie is. And it's Scorsese's like, he's going out on top and and I'm like, look, guys, when my husband and I were watching it, and I just kept looking at him, I said, is this Casino? Is this Goodfellas? Like, yeah. I mean, I felt like we'd already seen this, because literally it's the same actors playing pretty much basically the same characters.
Yeah.
The de-aging thing was weird. Like you could see their eyes were like old men's eyes.
Yeah. And their bodies are old men's bodies.
Yes. Yeah. And the movements that they, it just didn't quite translate with what they were going for.
Yeah.
However, not to spoil it for you, but when you do, it does pick up. Like towards the end, I got more invested and I got more interested.
Yeah.
It did start telling a different story that I personally hadn't paid attention to or noticed before or whatever. So it did change a little bit for me, where I enjoyed it a little bit more at the end. But yes, the first whole half of the movie, we turned it off. It took us like 3 days to get, maybe 2 days, 2 days to get through it. I had to go back to it and go, I guess I'm going to finish watching this.
Right.
Because I was just so confused that critics were just tripping over themselves over how amazing this is. And it's not. It's fine.
Yeah. It's more that just like, I think it's good so far, but it's more like, but similar actually to Booksmart, what makes it different than anything else that he's done before? Is it just like it's a swan song? Is it the de-aging technology? I don't really see the difference other than Bobby Cannavale's in it. And I love Bobby Cannavale.
I love Bobby. Yeah, no. Right. I mean, again, so many great, fantastic actors, like everybody's, and Joe Pesci, actually, I will call that out as in full agreement with all of the critics who are saying Joe Pesci in this movie.
Because he's great.
And I did feel like he finally got to be a deeper or more nuanced character than what he was before as a gangster and da 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 da. So I really did enjoy Pesci in this, but everyone else, I was like, I've seen you do this before. I've seen you do this a lot before. Like, what's new? And it's anyway. So that was those. I was like, I have to mention The Irishman, even though it's not on my list. I'm going to mention it because it popped in my head when we were talking about once, like. Because again, it's going to be up for consideration for all these Oscars and stuff. And I'm like, come on, guys.
Yeah, no,
you know?
I agree. I think it's also because it's one of those things where the Critics Award Circle feels like they just have to award it because it's a Martin Scorsese movie and all those people are in it. So I agree.
All right. So underrated. Shoot me with your underrated choice.
All right. So I had a hard time choosing between these two, and they are both very big blockbuster movies that did not make a ton of money, and it makes me super sad. Well, in comparison to their competition, that is. And that is Alita Battle Angel and Shazam.
Oh, those are good ones. Those are both really good underrated movies. Now, I haven't seen Alita, but I did see Shazam, and I did not see it in the theater. Correct. I saw this one on a plane, and when I watched it, I was like, that was a really good movie. Like, why didn't this be better? I know. As such a Marvel lover, I don't even like DC. And I was cheering them on. I enjoyed it, and I'm so stoked for Shazam too. So yeah, okay. So tell me what you think might have like factored into why these didn't. I know Alita this was going up against Captain Marvel, like opening at the same time, and so I know there was some drama involved there. So maybe that had something to do with it, but. I never saw that one because I didn't know what it was about and I didn't care. Like it didn't grab whatever I saw in the trailers and online. It did not compel me as somebody who like didn't know the story or didn't know the character in advance.
Yeah, that's totally fair.
To go see it, right?
Yeah.
So kind of part of me says maybe it wasn't marketed well enough. I don't know.
My main takeaway from it is I'm a huge anime fan and I've been since I was 5. So the Alita Battle Angel franchise, or Battle Angel Alita as it's normally called, has been something that I've loved ever since I was in middle school. So I already was like suckered into this movie from the beginning because it was accomplished beautifully, like executed beautifully. It has an amazing cast. And for the most part, shockingly, it's almost exactly like the manga / anime, 100%. And I was beautifully and surprisingly happy with that. I think Rosa Salazar is an incredible actress. She does so much with this character, even though she's under so much CGI, you know, speaking of de-aging, but in this, it's like it's up animating her face.
Gotcha.
It's incredible. And I will totally admit that I think a huge part of the reason why this movie did not do well is because a lot of people don't know the source material. It came out during a time that there was a lot of competition at the box office. And also, like, nobody in that movie, as much as they're great actors, are blockbuster actors. So the visuals and the setting was really the selling point. And it wasn't like that for most people. But I'm super happy that's starting to find a fan base and that there's a lot of people championing it to possibly survive more outside of just its theatrical release. So I highly recommend it if you really like seeing a cool kick-ass girl power story. But I will say that it's one of those movies that is clearly setting up a franchise that might not ever get to be. So if you're willing to give it, yes. But if you're willing to give it a shot, I would totally give it a shot. Just be prepared for it to be really weird, but it's a beautiful, weird ride, and I adore it to pieces. And
awesome.
In terms of Shazam, I also am not the biggest DC person by any means, but you know who I'm a big fan of? Is Zachary Levi.
Heck yeah.
And I have been waiting forever for him to be in a big blockbuster movie forever. And so I was immediately like, I'm going to see this movie. I don't care. Like, I don't know anything about the Shazam character. I'm just going for it. And you know what? He 100% does that character justice. He is hilarious. He has that whole Tom Hanks wholesome, adorable quality to him. I think the actor that plays the younger him, they perfectly sync together. You never think they're two different people. everyone in that movie is incredible. My only little thing that I think is the reason why I didn't do as well is it's very dark. There's a lot of dark elements that are really hard to sell to little kids. And if I was a little kid watching it for the first time, I would be like, holy bajoli, this is a lot of nightmare fuel. But overall, I think it's an amazing movie. And I feel like a lot of people who love that kind of Marvel humor should give it a chance.
Oh, I completely agree with you. Yeah, if you are a Marvel fan, then give Shazam a chance, because DC finally kind of mirrored that feel that you get, that we get, from the Marvel movies. But they do it in their own way, and it's. I thought it was a great standalone story and interesting enough. It was a little dark and there was some weirdness to it. So definitely, if you've got younger kids, be prepared. It's not, it is something that you might want to watch. I want to say it might be rated PG-13. And so that should tell you, use that as a guide, folks. That's what it's there for.
Yeah. It's definitely I would say for an older set of kids, or if you have 6 or 7 year olds who are cool with Stranger Things, creepy, dark stuff like that, then this is their vibe 100%.
Yes. In fact, I believe my husband took my daughter, who's 8, but she loves Stranger Things. So she's also,
good.
she is of that level of weird stuff is cool with her. She doesn't have a problem with weird, but I know a lot of friends who absolutely their kids would be scarred for lives for those kind of things. And so definitely, your kid, what you can handle, keep that in mind.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, my underrated movie is going to be Brittany Runs a Marathon.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
So what I loved about Brittany, well, first of all, as a runner and as an overweight runner and as a reluctant runner, when she starts that journey, that process of changing her life, I was just sitting there shaking my head going, this is the most accurate thing I have ever seen. Are they filming me? Okay. I mean, they got it right when it comes to the struggles that we have, particularly as plus size folks who are just trying to make yourself feel better. And sometimes there's a lot of struggle that goes into that, including how other people see you and react and respond to you. What I enjoyed about this is that it also did not pull any punches. And Brittany was messy. She was not a likable person at all in a lot of ways. Yeah. And I thought that was also, something different. We didn't have her up where we were completely rooting for Brittany the whole time. There were times where I was like, girl, you deserve to be alone, because, she did.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did, right?
Yeah.
But, what I loved about this, though, also was everything that they filmed when it came down to the marathon itself. I'm getting goosebumps reminding myself, thinking about the way they shot the marathon and what happened as she was running the marathon and the different levels of cycling that she went through mentally, physically to just complete this marathon. And again, very personal to me, but I was 100%, that was me. That exactly happened to me while I was on the course. It was really, I just felt like it wasn't somebody who thought this was what running a marathon was like when you're a plus size person or you're somebody that's not a natural runner. They actually knew what it was like to have those struggles. And it is not an easy process. I don't think it's an easy process for anybody, but it's definitely, if you're somebody like me, like Brittany, like the character in the story, who has your self-doubts and you have just doubts about your abilities and even doubts about people supporting you. I mean, it was crazy. And so that the whole scene where she's almost about to give up and she looks up, and it was just at that moment where she sees friends who come and save her. Girl, I had that happen to me. That's exactly what happened to me on my marathon. And so, so like I said, this one was a personal situation for me, but I felt like it was underrated in that it definitely caught on for runners in my running groups. People are, and they're still because it's now on, I don't know if it's Netflix or if it's Amazon. I'm not sure sure what it's on right now.
I think it's on Amazon because it's an Amazon movie.
That makes sense. It's an Amazon movie. Okay, so it's out on Amazon now, and people are starting to watch it. Plus, the new year, new me people are looking for motivation. And I will tell you that this is something, even if you're not a runner, but you do it's funny too. Like there was a lot of hilarious moments in this movie, but then also a lot of super real, like people, even the funny ones, were not always laughing, right? So I just, all around, I thought it was underrated and should have performed better, but didn't. Again, it's not a perfect movie. There's certainly things that I can critique, and I can even say as a plus size person, like that they did get wrong, but a lot of it they got right.
Yeah, that's my biggest takeaway from that movie, to be honest. But I think it's really important to have representation of various degrees. And even though there are certain aspects of Britney that I felt like were very negative, that were a little hard to swallow, I'm not gonna lie. I did think the ending overall really sealed the deal for me, and it made me cry, I'm not gonna lie. So
it was a good ending. It was a good ending.
Yes.
So yeah, it's not perfect. Like I said, there's definitely, again, the criticisms that people have out there, because it is, if you're like me, you'll take this one personally.
Yeah.
And I get that. And I'm not saying that you're not wrong, but I thought a lot of it just mirrored a lot of the things that I'd personally experienced. So I was like, okay, everybody go see Britney. Please go see Britney. Everybody, please go see Britney. And they didn't.
Awesome. Yeah. Aww.
All right, so I'm going to apologize for the absolutely non-seamless way that this is transitioning. However, as we recorded this and we started talking about it, we were like, you know what? This should really just be 2 episodes. So that's what we decided to do. We went ahead and we broke this up into the overrated, underrated episode that you just listened to. Come back next week for the Monday Movie Minute, and you'll get to hear what we're excited about for 2020. As always, if you can leave those reviews, those 5 stars, it's super appreciated. Tell your friends about the podcast and bring them all on, because it's no fun to fangirl alone. And thanks for fangirling on the No Guilt Fangirl podcast.